Hello, and welcome to Out of the Darkness. I'm Morgan Cohn, the Area Director for Orange County and the Inland Empire Desert Cities chapters of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. First and foremost, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Though like last year, we're still in a time of uncertainty, it's also a time that proves the importance of connectivity. Right now, it's more important than ever that we pay attention to and take care of both our mental and physical well-being. I hope you're all taking care of yourself, checking in with friends and family, and taking time to stay active. If you or someone you know is struggling, make sure to remember these phone numbers. First and foremost, we have 1-800-273-TALK, which is a 24/7 crisis line. Again, that number is 1-800-273-8255. Or you can text the word TALK to 741-741. By joining in today, you're sending a message that our cause of suicide prevention will never be canceled, because it can't be. We cannot let another day go by without showing that mental health is as real and as important as physical health. By showing up, you show others that suicide, which is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States, can no longer be ignored. Suicide is a health issue that affects us all. You are part of a national movement. The Out of the Darkness events help fund innovative and exciting research that will enable us to find better ways to stop suicide, advocate for important mental health legislation. For example, 988 legislation just passed last year, and that's going to enable a 3-digit crisis line in all states, education programs, and programs for survivors of suicide loss. The funds you have raised make it possible for the Southern California chapters of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention to bring our programs to our communities. By doing so, we're creating a culture that's smarter about mental health. You're letting others know that they're not alone in their struggle and/or their loss, and you're making a difference. Thank you again for joining in today and supporting the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and the Out of the Darkness event. Our mission to save lives and bring hope to those affected by suicide would not be possible without you. Without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Christine Moutier. Thank you.
Hi, it's Dr. Christine Moutier, Chief Medical Officer at the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for participating in our Out of the Darkness walks. You are making such a difference. By doing so, you are raising awareness. You're being part of the movement that includes all of us, experts, people with lived experience, people with loss, and many of us are all of the above. And so I just can't thank you enough. And I want to let you know that your efforts are the reason that we are the leading private funder of all suicide prevention related research. And right now we have a priority on technology and innovation in our research grants, as well as diversity. We also have our continued priority on supporting research that relates to the loss and healing experience of suicide loss survivors. Because of your involvement, we are able to develop new programs, prevention programs, as well as loss and healing programs. And in the workplace arena in the world, suddenly there is such an interest in suicide prevention. And so we are able to bring our interactive screening program to more workplaces, health systems, and colleges and universities. So thank you again so very much. Your advocacy, your involvement is it keeps us all going. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that important message, Dr. Moutier. Coming up next, we're going to hear from 2 individuals about their experiences with suicide. We would like to add a content warning, as loss and suicidal ideation will be discussed. First, we're going to hear from Pastor Rick Warren, and then from singer-songwriter XRE.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Rick Warren. I'm the speaker on the Daily Hope International broadcast, and I'm the author of The Purpose-Driven Life, which in Guinness Book of Records is named the most translated book in history after the Bible, and it has sold over 50 million copies in English alone. But in spite of that success, the worst day of my life was when my youngest child, who had struggled his entire life with mental illness, took his life. Suicide is devastating to everyone involved. And Matthew's death, which happened 8 years ago, is still fresh in my memory. Our family is still reeling from the effects of that trauma. And yet I've learned a lot about grief in those years. And I'd like to share some of the learnings I've had. First, I've learned that grief is individual. Everybody grieves differently. Now, that often causes conflict in families in addition to the grief. You should never expect other people to grieve like you do. Just be kind to everybody. Grief is individual. Second, there's no expiration date on grief. There's no time limit to it. There's no time when people say it's time to be over. Grief takes time, and it's foolish to rush it. Third, you don't get over grief, you get through it. And if you lose a loved one through suicide, it's not something you're going to forget. It's like if my right arm were cut off, for the rest of my life, I'm going to notice that arm isn't there anymore. I'm never going to forget it. Another thing I've learned is that grief is a good thing. Grief is actually a gift. We don't feel like it is, but it is. It's how we get through the losses and transitions of life. There is no growth without loss. There is no loss without pain. There is no pain without grief. Grief is how we get through the losses and transitions of life. In fact, having counseled thousands of people, I have learned that people who don't grieve, but instead stuff their feelings, they tend to get stuck at that point in their lives. They're unable to get on with their life because they never went through the grief process. And if you don't grieve good, you'll get stuck and you'll carry your pain into the future. Another thing I've learned is that feelings are meant to be felt. The only reason you have emotions is because God gave them to you. You were made in God's image, and God is an emotional God. We learn from scriptures that God grieves, God gets sad, God gets frustrated and angry, God gets disappointed in the way people act, just as God laughs and weeps. So it is completely natural for you to have an expression of all kinds of feelings in your grief. Feelings are simply feelings. And if you don't feel them, but instead you suppress them, it's going to be worse off. Now, if you suppress your feelings, it's like taking a Coke can and shaking it all up and putting it in the refrigerator. One day it's going to explode and it's going to come out sideways. So don't suppress your grief. Don't repress your grief. Instead, express your grief and confess your grief to God. I hope some of these things will be helpful to you in the days ahead. One other thing I'll say is that I've learned that grief comes in waves. And one moment you think you can handle it, the next minute you can't, and the next minute you can, and the next minute you can't. And your waves will never match other people's waves. And so you need to learn to listen to each other. And when someone is going through a wave of grief, don't try to cheer them up. Instead, try to share their pain. The last thing you need to do is to cheer up people when they're going through grief. It's like you're not listening to them. Instead, walk up and just put your arm around them, pat them on the back, give them a physical, hold their hand, something. It is the ministry of presence. The deeper the pain, the fewer words you use. God bless you.
Hi, my name is Xari. My pronouns are she and they. I'm a queer artist, singer, songwriter, and mental health advocate, and I'm so proud to be with you today to share my story with you. My mental health challenges started at a young age, I'd say around 8 years old, with anxiety and OCD tendencies. I later developed anorexia, and in high school I had my first episode of depression. In university I had to file for disability because of my first experience with bipolar 1, which led to episodes of depression, mania, sleep disturbances, and also psychosis. Throughout the years, I've had to be hospitalized a couple times due to bipolar 1, but I've really found my way to coping through channeling pain into power. This means making my weaknesses my greatest strengths, thereby transmuting my burdens into blessings. It can be done in so many ways. The way I do it is through self-care and creativity, specifically writing music. Everybody can find a healthy conduit for healing. I'm not an anomaly, and if I could survive and thrive, so can you. I only started sharing my story in 2017 after recovering from a hospitalization because I finally had the courage to stand in my power and share. I was so ashamed. I was so scared of being judged, so scared of my own stigma. But really, sharing has been so healing for me. And what I needed to see when I was going through my darkest times is someone like me talking openly, being vulnerable, and letting me know that it's okay not to be okay, and that what feels like the end actually might be a totally new beginning. So please, gather the strength, share, help others heal. Know you're not alone. We can do this together. Sending lots of love and light to you.
Hey everybody, my name is Ryan Nealon. I'm a 26-year-old singer-songwriter from San Diego, California, currently based in Los Angeles, and I am so thrilled and excited to be here and to be a part of this beautiful walk and event put on by AFSP. I really quickly wanted to say a sincere thank you to AFSP for having me be part of this. It truly means the world to me, and I'm also extremely grateful to be sharing my song Not Coming Home with you all, which I wrote from the perspective of my late mother. This song is all about what I thought she'd say to me if she was still alive today, and I can't even express how much closure it gave me, and I didn't even realize how much I needed it. And when I was writing this song, I wanted to make something universal so people could feel connected to their lost loved ones. And I think in this particular space, the song speaks so much volume. And I also think that this song can be used as a reminder that you're never alone, you're not going through your situation alone, and that you will always have a purpose to live your life to the fullest. Once again, thank you so much to AFSP for having me, and I'm sending so much love to everybody. Thank you so much, and see you soon.
Hi everyone, I am Christopher Ramirez, Area Director for the San Diego chapter. Thank you again to all those who shared photos today. We welcome anyone who would still like to share photos on our SoCal webpage at afsp.org/SoCal, and photos will be added to the Beat and Remembrance videos after the Outer Darkness post-event. Next, we'd like to take a community act of remembrance. Wherever you are, let's just take a moment of silence for those we have lost and those who are struggling. Thank you so much for holding that space for you and others. I'd like to remind you all about a few of the resources we have available at AFSP. First and foremost, Healing Conversations. You can visit Healing Conversations at afsp.org/Healing Conversations. Next, we have sent out a link to our resource fair, MapMe. We ask that you please check those resources out and reach out if you have any questions. Last but not least, International Survivor Suicide Loss Day will be taking place on Saturday, November 20th. We are planning many events throughout Southern California, and we hope to see you there. To register, please visit afsp.org/survivorday.
Hello, my name is Louisa Roque, and I'm the Area Director for Greater Los Angeles and Central Coast, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. First of all, I just want to thank all of you for tuning in with us today. I know that we're all hopeful for the day when the stigma around mental health and suicide are brought out of the darkness. As our community continues to walk that path, we want you to remember that you are not alone. Before we go our ways, though, and until next year, please check in with the people around you, especially if you notice that something might be wrong or that their behavior has changed. Avoid rushing to judgment and instead ask to have an open conversation with them. Lead with open-ended questions and let them know that you're available to talk and to listen and to help. Ask them directly if they're thinking about suicide. I know that this can be especially difficult to do, but being direct provides an opportunity for them to open up and to talk and to feel. And again, until next year, please be safe, open, and keep going.
Hello, I'm Dr. Robin Henderson, and I'm a psychologist with Providence Health System. At Providence, we understand the impact the pandemic has had on our communities and on your mental health and wellness. And I'm here to tell you that you're not alone. Hope is not canceled. Hundreds of Providence caregivers and staff are joining the Out of the Darkness Walk. Our teams are made up of doctors, nurses, administrators, and mental health workers. We know the impact of suicide on our work in the front lines of healthcare, and we feel it personally too. We want our communities to know that they are never alone when dealing with suicide and mental illness. With 1 in 5 Americans impacted by mental health issues, Providence is forming partnerships to reach even more people before a crisis occurs. If you or someone you love needs help, please look for community resources at providence.org. I invite everyone who cares about suicide to join us in coming out of the darkness and walk with us so that we can begin to heal. Thank you, and be well.
Approximately 130 Americans die by suicide each day. It is very important for us all to safeguard our mental health and well-being and prevent suicide.
In 2019, a study showed that more police officers and firefighters in the United States died by suicide than were killed in the line of duty. Being a first responder, it is one thing to hear those statistics, but it's entirely different when it impacts you directly because those statistics were your partners and your friends.
Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in America, and in the year 2020, over 48,000 Americans took their own life. Our Oxnard Police Department team is participating virtually in the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention's Out of the Darkness Walk in honor of a good friend of mine, Oxnard Police Department Senior Officer Glenn Bello, who tragically took his own life shortly after his retirement.
Glenn was one of those guys who would go out of his way to help others, a true gentleman of integrity and character. It is nearly impossible to mention his name and not have people smile and tell stories of cases they worked with him or time they have spent with him outside of work. I also walk to remember Deputy Roland Ogawa. When I became interested in law enforcement, I went on a ride-along with the Ventura County Sheriff's Office and was assigned to ride with Roland. After being hired by Oxnard PD, we would often run into each other and keep in touch as we progressed through our law enforcement careers. In 2014, Roland died by suicide. It is important to say that the manner of their deaths does not define them, but it also shouldn't be ignored. Suicide is not a taboo subject, and it is important to bring awareness to this very preventable, yet increasingly common cause of death.
We hope that you'll support the efforts of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Your support can help save lives and bring hope to those affected by suicide. Please click the link in the description below this video to join our efforts. You'll find details on how to participate in the Out of the Darkness Walk and other ways to support the Foundation in this important cause. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Los Angeles County Supervisor Catherine Barger. I know this event will provide valuable information about how we can strengthen our suicide prevention efforts. Suicide does not discriminate. It affects all people of all backgrounds and walks of life. With the help of our service providers and community members, we can all work together to ensure that resources are accessible to those who need them. All those struggling must know that there is hope and help available to them. The more we have these open and honest conversations, the better we will be able to destigmatize suicide. When we allow for this dialogue, we can equip our communities with the support they deserve to put their mental health first. Thank you for your commitment to uplift those who need support.
What does it mean to be a partner? A partner is someone you can lean on. A partner shares your struggles. A true, trusted partner listens and works with you to create a better, stronger future, no matter what lies ahead. At Anthem, we work hard each day to build bonds and partnerships that support whole health. We push ourselves to be on the cutting edge of technology to make healthcare simpler, more personalized, and more accessible for all. We drive health beyond healthcare by investing in our shared communities. Our eyes are on the future because we at Anthem know the power of a true, trusted, lifetime health partner.
Hi everyone, my name is Melinda Estrada, CEO and founder of Lending Enterprise. Even more than that, I am a parent, I'm a mom. And the reason why I donate to this great cause is because I have been in the situation being a parent of a child who needed these services. And I remember how scary it is not knowing what to do. And this went on for a very long time. Knowing now that there are resources for children and adults, everyone really who go through these tough times, I was drawn to it to be able to donate and give, because had I have known about sources like this before, I know that it would have helped me and my child get through this without so much heartache. I believe these programs are super important because without them, we really don't know how many lives are at stake. And with them, the great news is we really don't know how many lives we're going to be able to save. Ultimately, these type of programs save lives. They save our children's lives, our spouses' lives, our parents' lives. These save lives, and it's important that we get the word out, the outreach. These type of situations we really don't talk about very much. It used to be maybe taboo, and it's uncomfortable. However, it's extremely important because when somebody goes through something like this, whether it's a parent or the person themselves, they feel alone. I felt alone. I didn't know who to turn to. And I can only imagine what my child was going through and not knowing what to do to help them really put strain and stress and, most importantly, heartache and heartbreak. And if you're somebody who needs these services and you don't know what to do and you're having these weird feelings and thoughts, please reach out to us. There's a number of resources. We are here to support you. You are not alone in this. And please reach out. We are all here to support you, to help you, and simply just to talk with you. Reach out. I want to encourage all of us to continue to donate. And if you haven't, maybe you will now. Ask your family and friends to donate, and let's make a difference together.